I just wanted to say that I don't think that I don't think it would be a safe statement to say that our whole campus agrees on the majority rule work that you're doing, or that there are students who actually even agree with the protest that occurred. And I think it's a very simplistic. We'd have to work in a very simplistic sort of mindset if we were to try to distinguish what is what is political and too political and what is not political enough, or like what is directly benefits students and what doesn't. Because for me, like the healthcare reform, like that directly benefits the students, it directly benefits everybody. And I know that a lot of students here on campus, maybe not a lot, but some students won't agree with it. But I also know that some students don't agree with the student movement against the budget cuts. I know that some students don't agree with the majority rule. I know that some students don't agree that we should stop, stop. What is that word? Stop funding the athletics department when it has a large deficit. And I think those things are all political, and I don't think you can draw that kind of line. And when I say that I'm a political person, and I think the president should play a political role. I mean, my political agenda in the ASUC is a political agenda to for preserving higher education, preserving public education, and my political role as ASUC president will be playing that part, to be an advocate for public education. And I don't understand how that could be construed as anything more than anything less than political. Sorry.
So what can the president do to participate in these type of debates?
To participate in.
I mean, what is the role then of the president in such issues, in an issue such as intercollegiate athletics or budget cuts,
right,
or any number of issues?
I think the role of the president is to really try to discern and to listen to and try to discern what the best decision is to preserve the well-being of the student body and the ASUC. And I think Senator Stern is doing great work with his coalition, because I truly believe in that, and I think that's a political move, and I think the ASUC president should be doing that too, And for me, like the issue of like, should the ASUC be political or apolitical, I feel like that's not even a question. I think it's just how people define political, and I don't think you can provide a narrow definition of political as Senator Stern did, where we have to figure out, well, how do we have like the whole consensus of the entire school student body? Because there's nothing that we're gonna do that has the whole consensus of the student body. I don't think there's always like that one person that's like, well, I don't think I should be paying less for my education. I'm fine with paying this money, or things like that, So.
And Senator.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned that it's important that we define all the aspects of what it means to be political, and I think there's an aspect of, taking political action, and then there's being ideological. And I think what's important about political action is, especially, I think Senator Kwon said, we have to be strong student advocates, and I think we'll both, strive to be student advocates. And if there are disagreements on tactics, what we should really be doing is empowering students to take their own initiative. So this year with the budget cuts, we've seen a lot of different roles that student body has been playing in ways to protest, and I think they've all been great, and the ASUC should empower students to voice their own concerns. And for example, we've seen UC MEP. It's kind of a little, they make it accessible to more students by putting into a comedic spin. We've seen some of the protest movements, which I think have been a great way of attracting a lot of attention. And I personally was helpful in making sure that some of these protests could get space on upper sprout to have the microphones and all that stuff. And that's what the role the ASUC should play, is helping other students to take action they want to take. We shouldn't be inhibiting, we should be promoting. I also think at the same time it's really important that those ideological issues that are very divisive, that could be putting divisions in our campus, that's where we shouldn't be taking a stance. When we say we're progressive, there are a lot of conservatives, and if it's something outside the realm of education and students' interests and vital student services, that's where we need to leave it on the side. I think a lot has been discussed about SB 119, and we know, if we look at the conflict in the Middle East, that's something that's hasn't really been resolved. It's been going on for decades and centuries, really. And I think on our campus there's a very strong divide about that issue, and that's one of those places where the ASUC shouldn't really go, because it's something that we need to focus on how we can really benefit our student body here. And if we are going to take action, we need to make sure it's well thought out. It needs to be really scrutinized carefully, and make sure we have a lot of students behind it before we take any measures that could potentially be dividing our campus.
Cool. I think that's where I guess we differ, because what I saw the ASUC doing this year was we waited until it became a popular decision to support the movement. I mean, I thought the ASUC president should have sent out that campus-wide email saying, like, this is the unified action that, you know, the student movement has decided upon, and, like, here's how you can take, you know, you can help out, here's how you can join the movement, here's how you can, like, help defend public education with the 24th walkout. And that email was not sent. And it might seem like a little thing too, this email, but it was just a message to me that the ASUC is always waiting to see like how the students are going to respond, and where this is going, and then maybe it'll jump on the bandwagon. And I don't think that should be the role of the ASUC. I do think it should be a supportive role. I don't think we should co-opt any sort of movements, but I think we should be in those rooms when those decisions are being made. I think as the ASUC's president, I should be attending those meetings, and I did attend those meetings this year where these rallies were being planned, and the actions that were decided were...
You're talking specifically about the March 4th?
The March 4th, the 24th, with Solidarity Alliance. CalServe was in those meetings, and we collaborated with them to make sure that we were being supportive, and we were offering any manpower resources that we could. And I feel like the movement isn't some sort of trend that you just want to follow because now it seems cool. It's we have to make these decisions when they come to us. And I think a flaw in the part of the ASUC this year was that before you know any of this became like before the 24th walkout, when it was evident that the student population really cared about this was still the right thing to do, and the ASUC should have realized that. So.
If we can maybe just move on for a little bit to some other kind of related issues, I think touch upon these same points. With the issue of intercollegiate athletics, I mean, this is a campus auxiliary that has received millions and millions of dollars of campus support year in, year out for most of the past 2 decades. First of all, do you feel that it is appropriate as campus and auxiliary that, and as something that's not directly related to the classroom, that the campus allocate this financial support? And as the ASUC president, how would you incorporate yourself into that debate? What do you see the role of the president in this issue? Senator Stern?
So I think it's definitely a problem and a grave concern that, you know, the athletics department has been running a deficit and that we're having to use campus money to support it. But I also think that there's been a strong calling to just cut funding, to cut student fees, and I think that's not the wisest move. You know, this isn't an entire department can't be cut overnight. You know, if they're failing, we need to find ways to help them. We need to find ways to streamline their efforts, their operations. We need to find ways to make sure that they turn a profit. And I think it's really important to remember that every single athlete on this campus is also a student. You know, they've come here and that's their college experience, being an athlete. I think it's really easy to scapegoat the football team because it's such a public figure, something that people see all the time. But it's important to remember that, you know, there are a lot of other sports that we don't necessarily see. You know, I haven't really been to a women's crew event in a while, though I wouldn't mind going. But I think it's important to remember there are a lot of student athletes on this campus who really, you know, our money is going to support them, and taking money away from them so drastically, that doesn't give them time, if they're really serious athletes, if they want to transfer to another school, if they need to find other ways to engage in that activity that they really are passionate about. We shouldn't be ones who just cut it so immediately. And I think it's also important to realize that there's a lot of other subsidiary groups and student organizations that really benefit from athletics. You know, if you look at the Cal Band, Rally Committee, we have a lot of student organizations that sell food at football games to make a profit that actually takes a lot of the strain off of the ASUC because they're able to generate money by themselves. And these are a lot of issues we have to look at, and we can't just be saying we're going to cut right and left. And you know, just like my student fees probably go, I'm sure, you know, I'm in a political economy major. That's a department that gets very little funding. I mean, we don't even really, we barely exist. But you know, I'm okay with my money going towards other campus units because I know there are other students that are benefiting from that money. And I think we have to consider other students and student athletes that are benefiting from our funds and find a way to make sure that they're running efficiently, but not cutting them off entirely.